Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Deluxe Class Ractonite from Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron Trilogy. This is our second Deluxe Class fossilizer, so that means that Ractonite can be completely disassembled into various components and form armor and weapons for other figures in the line. Ractonite's a bit of an unusual name, but it's because it is a Styracosaurus, as you can see here. Really cool artwork here on the front of the box. I absolutely love that. Very, very cool. Over here on the side, you have that kind of standard Kingdom mural, group shot, whatever you want to call it, over here on the side. Not too much going on the top or the bottom. Spinning it around to the back, you have that kind of cave painting motif that they have going on here. You can see the robot mode, you can see the dino mode, and then, of course, all the different components you can disassemble and have all the different pieces there. And then, even though it is a Predacon, they have Ractonite being linked up to Huffer here, so I guess we'll do the same when it comes time to show that off. But let's go ahead without further ado. Let's get Ractonite out of the box and we'll take a closer look. So here's Ractonite out of the packaging, and it's a very interesting design. Super wide barrel-like body, kind of weird stubby legs, long gangly arms. It's a look. It's definitely interesting. I like the giant Styracosaurus head kind of as the shoulder pad and part of the arm. I think that's actually kind of neat. Let's take a look at the head sculpt. So not a ton going on there. You have some nice red painted eyes, and you kind of have this piece that can kind of go down, and I don't know if that's supposed to be like a visor, like maybe some kind of like shield for battle mode or something like that. But then you have this peg in the top here that kind of goes back at a 45-degree angle, like some kind of, samurai man bun or something like that. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. But the head's on a ball joint, so you can kind of tilt it back and forth. Certainly spin side to side, up and down, no problem there. You have a spin here, you have a joint there, you have a joint up here, so you can get some weird motion out of the arm if you want. But if you want to kind of keep it more compact, this can swivel, and then this can kind of move up and down. You have bicep swivel there, you have kind of a double jointed elbow, one there and one there. And then he's kind of got like no real hand syndrome because he's got the dino feet, and then he's just got this peg. And, the box art tries to depict these as, like, gun barrels. And I'm sorry, they're not. He just doesn't have any hands. And that's really the problem. And I feel like they could have molded fists in here and then just had them be, somewhat hidden. I mean, you could still have the dino feet hang off here. That would have been fine, but give him real fists. Instead, they give you this, like, tiny little bone sword type thing to kind of peg on here. And, I don't know. It just feels kind of lame. It feels like an afterthought. Like they couldn't be bothered to give him real hands, so they just kind of threw an accessory on there and hope you wouldn't notice. You do have waist swivel there. You have hinge and pretty good movement there in the hip. This can swivel because this really just pops off. And then you have a decent knee joint there, and then you have kind of nice range of motion there for the ankle. But the problem is I wish there was something for front to back here as well. And that's going to hurt more in Dino mode. We'll see how that goes in a little bit. And then you have some peg holes there and there. So he's very interesting as far as design goes. I don't think he's perfect. I don't hate him. He's kind of middle of the road. I mean, Paleotrex wasn't really, an amazing robot design either. I think they're supposed to be weird because they're just kind of moving skeletons. So I don't think they're supposed to look completely natural, so maybe that's part of the aesthetic they're going for. But yeah, all in all, it's not bad. It's not bad. Let's go ahead and we'll get transformed into the skeletal dino mode. Alright, first step in the transformation, you're going to go ahead and pop the arms off, and then there are these two pegs here in his waist, and you're just going to peg them on there instead. Now, I guess technically you could do this in robot mode as well if you just wanted to have these kind of weird waist crotch lasers. I don't know, just an idea. You can go ahead and fold these pegs back just to kind of hide them a little bit. And then you can kind of use the double joints to kind of just put these in a kind of natural dino leg pose just for now. You know what? I think I have these backwards. These should be switched so that the hollow side is on the inside just to hide that a little bit. There we go. Next, you're going to take this part off and this part off. And you're also going to take, I believe, this entire section off. This will I believe the head just gets closed up like that. And I think this just stays like that if I remember correctly. I think that just kind of hangs there. So you're going to come to this part, which will become kind of the back tail section. So this is going to flip out, and then you can bring in that little tail piece and pop that onto the back. You're going to take this and peg this in here. Is it this direction? No, like this. So that's going to just peg in underneath there, and then this is going to peg in right there, just like so. And then you just kind of, again, see, this is where I wish there was some kind of hinge here, because I want to leave this about here, and then I want to just turn the foot a little forward, but instead you kind of can't. So the only joint you have here is that knee, so you kind of have to rely on that to get the feet to lay flat. And then you just take the giant dino head and peg that onto the front. And there you go. There is your skeletal Styracosaurus. And it looks pretty cool. I like the giant red eyes. You can open and close the mouth, which is nice. You can actually remove the horns and use them in different configurations. They're a little bit softer plastic. So that's kind of cool. Nice Predacon symbol there. As far as articulation goes, you can kind of swivel the head side to side, open and close the mouth. This piece feels really loose. You can kind of see right there where the seam is, right here where my thumb is. And I don't think that's supposed to come off, but it almost feels like it could. I don't know, should I change? Okay, you can. You can just unpeg it. So there you go. I was like, do I want a chance breaking this? So yeah, that just unpegs. That's good to know, that you can just peg it back in. There we go. That's probably like a safety feature so it doesn't break, more so than anything. If a kid would drop it or something like that. And then, of course, you have this movement here. Pretty much everything you had in the robot mode. But like I said, I wish there was a little bit of a hinge right there, because you have ankle tilt, but you don't really need that in this mode. I guess you could put it out to the side if you wanted to be bow-legged, but that's kind of weird. I don't know why you would want that. But yeah, it just doesn't quite sit flat. I guess I can just kind of move this to match it, but yeah, something like that. And also these front little feet look a little tiny. But he's not bad. I mean, he's a cool little skeletal dino. He could be better. He could be worse. He's just kind of middle ground right now. But let's go ahead. I'll take them all apart and we'll start doing some fun combinations. So we'll use Huffer as our model since he's featured on the back of the packaging for Ractonite. And we're just going to take Ractonite apart pretty much all the same places as when we were putting him together, just now doing it in reverse. So we're going to take this apart. We're going to pop this off. We're going to unpeg these legs down here. This little tail piece. We're going to take this piece here, rotate this around, bend this down like so. And then his main kind of chest cavity, we're going to flip around like this. And then you can kind of rotate the head around about 180 degrees. It doesn't really matter, but they show doing that on the directions. So now we're going to take this and peg this in here like so. You're going to take one of the larger legs, straighten that a little bit, and then we're going to peg it in right there, like this. Then they want you to take what was his kind of crotch section in robot mode and just kind of straighten this out. And then peg this in here. And then this is kind of a giant hammer. And then you can go ahead and have Huffer hold this. Now it's going to be a little difficult. I mean, one, it doesn't really peg into his hand all that well. I'll be 100% honest. It's a little loose. And that's why I kind of think it's a weird choice to use this. What I would personally do is take this. Although I guess you'd run into the same trouble because that doesn't have a connection port there. All right, never mind. That plan's not going to work out. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it wants to peg into his hand all that well. Maybe you could do something like this. I mean, it looks a little weird, but that pegs into his hand a little bit better. But it doesn't really matter because this is a ridiculously gigantic hammer, so he can barely hold it as it is just because it would make him completely pitch forward onto his face. But yeah, it's really funny. His hand doesn't really hold it all that well. It's kind of too big for his hand. Or rather, his hand is too big. But in any case, there's a giant hammer, so if you want a giant hammer, that you have that going on. My personal favorite combination here, which I actually think looks really, really cool. Let me go ahead and get the directions out for it. So you take the head, you open this up and you can see that there's a peg inside there. You take one of the smaller legs and pop this forward like so, straighten this all out. This pegs in here like this, and then this kind of closes around it, and then this pegs in here, and then you take this and kind of peg this into the side of his hand. And you have kind of a combination shield blade. Really, this kind of reminds me of Dino Thunder Blue's shield that we looked at that came with his Lightning Collection figure. But that's kind of cool. I just think it's neat. It's kind of a shield weapon. It pegs onto the side of his arm. I think that looks really cool. And also, it's not so heavy that it makes him fall over, which I really appreciate. So, while this one is kind of neat with how gigantic it is, it's just absolutely way too much weight and you can't really wield it. But this might be cool for somebody a little bit larger, like, say, Galvatron or Rodimus Prime or somebody like that, because it's kind of a gigantic hammer, which I do think looks really neat. It's just way too big for Huffer. So Ractonite is okay. I mean, Ractonite is another fossilizer. If you love fossilizers, you're going to love Ractonite. If you don't really care about the fossilizers, then he's probably not going to wow you. And when I say it like that, I don't want to say that the fossilizers are bad. When I think back to the weaponizers before them, the gimmick just didn't resonate with me very much. It's a neat idea. You can take them apart and make them into backpacks with giant cannons and connect them to the other robots. That's just not a thing that I care about. It's just, it seems like too much work. They end up looking really weird, or they're too back heavy, so you can't really display them that way. For little kids, it's probably a lot of fun because, they can basically make Legos out of their Transformers and build crazy things and hook them all together, and that's fine. For me, I got that from the Micromaster bases. When all these different guys turned into little bases and I could connect them all together with ramps and build a giant metropolis, that was the gimmick that resonated for me. That was my personal favorite out of the three of these things, and I was really sorry to see them go. The fossilizers, of course, are dinosaurs, and everyone loves dinosaurs. It's a universal constant. Everyone, because they're all secretly have that child inside them that still thinks dinosaurs are mystifying and amazing, and everyone loves dinosaurs. It's just a fact. So skeletal dinosaur alt modes are very cool. Very, very cool. I think that's a really neat idea. The robot modes are not the best. You usually get some kind of weird gangly thing that doesn't quite look right, because you can tell they started with the dinosaur mode and then had to work backwards into this weird robot that can also kind of, come apart and become different pieces. And I would rather them just make really neat skeletal dinosaur transformers and not worry about the gimmick, because then you'd probably get a better robot mode out of the deal. I don't know. He's okay. Like I said, if you love fossilizers, you're going to like him. If you don't really care for the gimmick, it's just more of the same. So it's going to be your mileage is going to vary. I also kind of wish he was a more exciting color scheme. I know that sounds dumb because, bones, fossilized bones are like one of two colors, or either kind of white or dirty white or yellowish, so it makes sense. But I don't know. Just this is very gray and it's kind of drab and kind of bland, so I get why they did it, but again, it's a little boring. I do really look forward to the combiner that they're making. The third one of these, I think his name is Wing Thing or Wingdings or something like that. There's a pterodactyl one coming in Wave 3, and you're going to be able to combine the three together into a Gestalt mode. That's really cool. I am looking forward to that. That should be pretty fun. I mean, people have already gone nuts on the internet buying multiples of these and just, going crazy. It reminds me of when people used to make all kinds of crazy Mugenbein creations, and some people are really inventive, and they're really doing some amazing things. And I'm sorry to say that my imagination just doesn't run wild like that. So they're not really resonating with me, but I think there are definitely people out there that are going to love them, and I'm in no way saying that they're bad, because they're not. They're just not super resonating with me personally. But if you love skeletal, bone transformer pieces that you can build into crazy weapons and accessories, then this guy is definitely for you. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.